Okay, going on with factorization. Today I'm going to teach you how to factorize by grouping. So sometimes you get an expression where you have an even number of terms, and such an expression can be factorized by grouping the terms in pairs first, with the pairs with common factors. So let's take examples. Factorizing by grouping. Factorizing by grouping. You can group in pairs, in triples. If you group in pairs, all the groups must be in pairs. If you group in triples, all the groups must be in triples. So you must always have an even number of terms. You can only group in triples if you have 6 terms, 12 terms, 9 terms, and so on, multiples of 3 basically, above 3. And if you want to group in pairs, you can start with the 4 terms. You can group in pairs. Even 6 you can group in terms. Basically multiples of 2. So if the number of terms is a multiple of 2, you can group in pairs. If it is a multiple of 3, you can group in triples. Alright, so let's take some examples. Examples that you can do with grouping are what? You have, we're going to take an examples where we have 4 terms, where you can do group in 2, and an example where you have 6 terms, where you can group in 3, or in 2 again. So 6d minus 9r plus 2t to the power of 5d minus 3t to the power of 5r. Then the second one, we have x squared minus 6x plus 5x minus 30. Then the third one, we have ab minus a squared minus a plus b. And then the last one, we have 3ax plus bx minus 3ay minus by minus 9a minus 3b. So how do we go about factorizing this? So factorizing by grouping, we have these steps. Step one is group the terms in pairs or triples with common factors. That's the first step. With common factors. Then step number 2, once you have grouped them in pairs of common factors, the next step is to factorize each pair or triple, depending on whether you have grouped them in pairs or triples. Pair or triple. Right. Then 3. Take out the common binomial or trinomial factor, depending on whether you grouped in triples or doubles. Trinomial. Take out the common binomial or trinomial. You are done. So those are the 3 steps. First up, group the terms in pairs or triples with common factors. So you don't just group them any way you like. You check which ones have common factors. Then you group them like that in triples or doubles. Now, in the second step, you factorize each pair or double by just taking out the highest common factor. And then lastly, you take out the common binomial or trinomial factor as HCF. Then you're done. So we're going to follow these steps to do the examples that I have chosen. Right. So let's erase and then start solving the examples using the steps just mentioned. First example. For the first example, we have 6d minus 9r plus 2t to the power 5d minus 3t to the power 5r is equal to, we check. Here on the 6d and the 9r, there is a common factor of 3. Here on this 2, there's a common factor of 2 to the power 5. But when you have 4 terms and you group in pairs, obviously, because that's a multiple of 2, the number of terms. 4 is a multiple of 2. If you just notice one pair that has common factors, then the other pair should go together as well. So the easiest one to spot in this case could have been this one. But I also noticed that here there is a common factor of 3. So I'm going to group these 2 together and these 2 together. So 6d minus 9r. And you always put a plus when you're grouping between the brackets. Otherwise, if you don't put anything, it means you're multiplying. And if you put a negative, it will change the signs of the terms in the second bracket. So you always put a plus. So in the brackets here, we're going to have 2t to the exponent 5 minus 3t to the exponent 5r. Okay. Then from there, now that you have grouped them, you factorize each pair. Here the highest common factor is 3, so we're going to be left with 2d minus 3r. And then plus, here the highest common factor is t to the power 5. So we're going to have t to the power 5 into 2d minus 3r. Look at this. This is a common binomial factor. So we take it out according to the steps that we do. Remember the steps are what? Group in pairs with common factors, factorize each pair, and then take out the common binomial factor as the highest common factor. So if you take out this, we're left with the items outside and they'll go into one bracket basically. And so we are done. If we look at the expressions there, there's no way we can factorize them further. So we are done. Then let's go to the second example. In the second example, we have ab minus a squared minus a plus b. And sorry, if we check, these two have a and a, right? Also, these two have a and a, and then these two also have b and b. So we can group these two and these two, but we can also group these two and the other two together. Well, I'm going to group these ones together because they have a and they're close together. So we're going to have what? AB minus, we're going to have AB minus a squared plus, you always have a plus in between, negative a plus b. When you put a plus there, you keep all the signs that were there as well in the brackets. Now you have grouped them in brackets with common factors. One can say, but these are not, do not have a common factor. Well, they do. There's a 1 here and there's a 1 there. But the fact of the matter is, when you have 4 terms and you group them in pairs, once you have found one pair with common factors, the other pair should go together. Okay, by default. So now you have the 2 pairs. Now the second step is to factorize each pair. Here the highest common factor is a. So you're left with b minus a. And then here the highest common factor. I'm going to check. Well, it's 1. So we're going to write 1. And then we have what? We can just rewrite this nicely as b minus a. You see, we haven't changed any signs. The a is still negative, the b is still positive. But now they look even more similar. I mean, this is exactly the same as that. It's just that the order is not the same. Now, once we have that, we have a common binomial that is there. So we take it out as the highest common factor. So once we've taken it out, we are left with the things that are outside the brackets. And they go into the same pair of parentheses. Alright, so now let's go to number 3. Number 3 is, well, this one we just did is number 3. Let's do number 2 now. I skipped it. I was not going in the right direction on the layout of the examples. So the second one is x squared minus 6x plus 5x minus 30. And in this case, I'm going to group these two together because I can see x and x, which means the other two must go together. So we'll write x squared minus 6x plus, you always have a plus between the groups, 5x minus 30. And then this gives us what? Highest common factor here is x. So we have x minus 6. And then plus 5 into x minus 6. And so you've grouped in pairs, factorized each pair. Now you take out the common binomial factor. If you grouped in triples, you'd have a trinomial factor that is common. Now when you take this x minus 6 out, you're left with x plus 5. So here's the plus 5, here's the x. And so we are done like that. Now let's go to number 4. Number 4 is the long one. So with a lot of terms. So it's 3ax plus bx minus 3a minus by minus 9a minus 3b. And in this case, we have 6 terms. So that's a multiple of 3. So it's also a multiple of 2. If we like, we can group in pairs or we can group in triples. Well, I'm going to group in pairs. I'm seeing xx, okay? I'm seeing yy. So I can group this together. But also I have a, I could group the a's together. B, group the b's together. But I choose to group them in pairs that are close together. Okay, so see xx, yy. So the other two must go together. So we're going to have what? 3a x, that's our first step, plus bx plus negative 3ay. You see I'm putting the same signs that were there in the bracket as well. Plus, you always have a plus between the groups. Negative 9a. You see I took that negative there. Minus 3b. So that's the first step. We've grouped in pairs. We'll do this one again by grouping in triples just now. Sorry. Second step is, after grouping, is to factorize each pair. So, or each group. Here the highest common factor will be what? X is there. So it will be x, and then we'll be left with 3a plus b. Here the highest common factor, we can see negative there. So negative 1y. So it's going to be negative y. And we'll be left with 3a plus b. Then lastly, let's see here. The highest common factor here is negative 3. So negative 3 into, we'll be left with 3a plus b. Once again, you have a common binomial factor there, which is 3a plus b. So if we take it out, 3a plus b, we're going to be left with whatever is outside the brackets here. Remember, if you want to take something out, you write it, open a bracket, and divide each term by that thing. If you don't understand what I'm saying here, go look at our video on taking out the highest common factor. But yeah, if you take this out on this expression, you're going to be left with x, negative y, and negative 3. So x minus y minus 3. And so you have factorized. Okay. Group in pairs with common factors, factorize each pair, and then take out the common binomial factor. Now, if we were to do this one again, but this time grouping in triples, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to look at triples that have a common factor. Now, if we look at this, we have A, and A, B, B, and B. So we will find triples with common factors. The common factors are A and B. So we have what? We're going to take the ones with the A's and put them in one bracket. So 3AX minus 3AY minus 9A plus. You always have a plus, even when you are grouping in triples. You always have a plus between the groups. So now we have what? BX, now we're having everything with a B, minus BY minus 3B. Now, because we grouped in triples, we're going to have a common trinomial factor at the end. So let's see now. Here, what is the common factor? I see 3, 3, 9, 3A is the highest common factor. Then we're left with x here. If we take out the 3A, 3A here leaves us with negative y. 3A here leaves us with negative 3. Then we have a plus. And then we look at all of this. The highest common factor is 1B, or just B. So we're going to have B. If you take it out, you're going to be left with x. Here you're going to be left with negative y. Here you're going to be left with negative 3. And so you see this common trinomial factor. We can take it out. We have x minus y minus 3. And then in the other bracket goes what is outside the brackets. Because if you remove this here, you're left with 3a. You remove it here, you're left with 3b. And so this is the same as the one before, except this bracket came before. But we know that multiplication is commutative, which means that you can change the order of the multiplication. So whether this is at the front of the trinomial or the trinomial is at the front, the answer will be the same. Okay? And that is how we factorize by grouping. So when you see an expression with an even number of terms from 4 upwards, just know that you can sometimes you can factorize it by grouping. In fact, most of the time, you're most likely to be able to factorize it by grouping in pairs or triples. We group in doubles or in pairs if the number of terms is a multiple of 2 or it's even. And we group in triples if the number of terms is not even, but it's a multiple of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, see you in the next one.